Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend, where we go behind the scenes and talk to the creators of independent entertainment. I'm Jason Godbey, and no, today I am not in the Rabbit Hole studio. Because of the coronavirus outbreak, we are not allowed to get into the Brick Arts Media Center where we normally tape our show. So from now until the foreseeable future, we'll be bringing you No Rest for the Weekend, the home game. So today on the program, we still have a special show for you. We're going to be doing a recap of the Tonkawa Film Festival in Tonkawa, Oklahoma. And later, we're going to have a review from our own E.J. Argenio of the feature Lake Michigan Monster. But first, just to address the issue a little bit, we are living in some strange times. I've never seen anything like this, and I've lived in New York City for over 20 years, but the closest thing I can think of is probably the immediate aftermath after 9/11. And, as freelancers, as artists, I know a lot of us are being hit pretty hard. It's very hard to find work. Hopefully, there'll be some relief coming soon. But hopefully you can find some work to do from home. And I wish you guys the best. I'm one of you. I'm and everybody here on the team just hopes that we all get through this safely. And we'll talk more about that later. But I want to talk about a project that may inspire you guys to create, even though you're homebound. But that's later on the show. So right now, I want to talk about some films screened at the Tonkawa Film Festival. And you may be saying, why are you talking about a film festival in Oklahoma? You guys usually talk about film festivals here in the city. But we're talking about this film festival because it was founded by No Rest for the Weekend alum James Oxford. So James was on the show, and like the first season of the show. He's a great guy and a great producer. He and his husband Lance Marshall, they formed a production company called Watergun Outlaw, and he's just recently founded this film festival to give back to his hometown. He's actually from Oklahoma. So I wanted to just show you a little bit of him, and this is a little bit of him and why he started in show business.
My husband is an actor and a writer, and we had moved to New York City in 2006, 2007, and he had started auditioning for roles and doing some short films and feature films and not finding the kind of roles that he wanted. And so we finally decided in 2013 just to take a script that he had written and just produce it ourselves. I come from a financial background. I have no experience or training beforehand in film production, but organized like a good Excel spreadsheet as any good producer does. And we just kind of jumped in head first. And so this production company was a name he had come up with years ago, but we officially incorporated it in 2013 so we could do that first film, which was The Demon Deep in Oklahoma. I still look back and I'm proud of the way that we approached it. I think the way we approached it was the correct way, which was we knew nothing about cameras, we knew nothing about sound, we knew nothing about lighting, we knew nothing about production insurance, location scouting, we knew none of it. And one of the benefits that I think both of us, Lance and I both have, is we have no fear of failure. So again, we just jumped directly into it. And so we just researched, and we have no issue with asking people questions. So we would, if there was something we didn't know, we would reach out to anybody we could find that could help us. And because of Lance's background in working on all these various films up here in New York, we had met a lot of people. So we'd already kind of put a team together of people that he had met on other films that he really, really liked and that he knew would be good to work with. And so I think the only thing I would tell myself is go cheaper. So I mean, we did put more money than that was probably necessary to that first one, but that's okay.
The festival was predominantly for short films, but they also did the screening of the film Walking Out, starring Matt Balmer. He did a special video introduction. They also had a parade through the town with some celebrated guests. Alex Smith, who directed Walking Out, they did a Q&A with him after the film. Dana Wheeler Nicholson, who you know from many movies, she was also there. She emceed the award ceremony. And they also had Matt Ballmer do a video introduction for the awards ceremony. They had a hand-created awards from J&J Woodshop and Kingfisher, and they gave out $500 cash prize for the Best in Fest. Here are some of the winners from the festival. Wonder for Best Drama, Meeting MacGuffin for Best Animated Film, Gladys Brown for Best Comedy, The Hunted for Best Horror, Fighting MSA Austin Crawford's Story won for Best Documentary, and the winner of the Best Student Film and the Best in Fest went to Murder of Crows. And now, here to review some of the shorts screened at the Tonkawa Film Festival, No Rest for the Weekend contributor and the founder of the Art House Garage blog and podcast, Andrew Sweatman.
Hello. I got to watch a handful of short films from the Tonkawa Film Festival, and they were diverse and impressive. The first one is called Light My Fire, and this tells a story of a very angry man. You're not sure what he's angry about at first. You discover he is driving to confront his daughter's boyfriend about something, and it slowly reveals what that is, but it ends up being a really complex, nuanced kind of reflection on domestic abuse and the cycle of abuse and toxic masculinity and nationalism. Actually, it's on the 4th of July, and that plays into it as well. It's really well directed. The sound design is really well done, and that's a big part of it as well. This is maybe the most impressive one that I saw, directed by Bob Barito. I recommend it. Seek it out if you can, and he's a filmmaker to watch for sure. The next one I watched is called Gladys Brown. I immediately wondered, is that a riff on Jackie Brown at all? And I think maybe it is. They share some DNA, maybe some influence there. But Gladys is sort of an older black woman working in an office, and she is, at the beginning, passed over for a promotion that she thought she was going to get. And you just see that she's kind of used and abused in this corporate environment, and then she starts to fight back, sort of. And it's very funny. It's darkly funny. It's kind of a dark comedy. Ends up being very empowering, very well acted. Gladys is played by Anna Maria Horsford, who I'd seen in a few things, and she's the lead here. This is directed by Chad Scarborough, and definitely worth a watch as well. Quite funny. The next one is called Mimeo. It's a kind of high concept sci-fi short about a device, like an augmented reality, kind of like Google Glasses kind of thing that came out a few years ago, but it's very high tech for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. Basically, it shows this grandmother who is very afraid of technology, and her grandson helps her get used to these glasses that shows her she's forgetting very simple facts about people that she knows and loves, who they are, where they go to school, that sort of thing. And the glasses remind her. It has an AI, and so it's kind of like something we've seen Tony Stark use in the Marvel Universe, but it's a real world use, and it's really it's very short, it's very sweet. Watching her overcome her fear. I think that's kind of the emotional core of it, is she's just deathly afraid of this thing, but it ends up really improving her life. And it's really sweet. A short and sweet little watch that I recommend as well. And the final one that I watched is called A Band of Thieves. And this one wears its influences on its sleeve. It's kind of like Bonnie and Clyde by way of Moonrise Kingdom, if it was directed by Quentin Tarantino. It definitely has a strong Wes Anderson and a strong Quentin Tarantino influence. And what's impressive is that it holds those two things, and it still works, because it's pretty, those sound like very, opposites almost, but it really works together. The cinematography, the dialogue is straight out of Wes Anderson, and the sound editing, the film editing feels very Tarantino-esque. The opening credits feel straight out of Scott Pilgrim, which is a whole other influence, but something I really appreciated about it. It manages to hold all of these things and still not feel derivative of any of them, and that's pretty impressive to me. And it tells a story of a Bonnie and Clyde, but they're children, and this young girl who's obsessed with like the Alamo and Texas history. She lives in Texas, and she and her friend steal a gun and steal a car and drive around robbing their neighborhood, basically. And it's kind of bizarre and very funny, and very much a bottle rocket vibe too with that for that Wes Anderson film. But also very much enjoyed it. It's about 14 minutes long. The filmmaker is going to do some big things, I'm sure. That's it. Thanks.
For more on Andrew Sweatman, you can check out his website, arthousegarage.com. He's also got the Art House Garage podcast as well. You can subscribe to him there. And up next, we've got William Hammon with his review of the feature Walking Out, which is currently on Netflix.
The one thing that I love about Walking Out more than anything is Todd McMullen's cinematography. There are these just beautiful sweeping shots of the landscapes, especially in the winter with the snow contrasting on the rocks and trees. Particularly in one really good scene towards the end where the main character, Cal, played by Matt Bomer, he's leaning up against a tree, and a deer starts wandering into the frame and just comes ever closer to him, just sniffing around. Just this image of a hunter staring down what is normally helpless prey. It's not only a completely stunning visual, just from an aesthetic standpoint, but in the context of the film overall, it's an almost poetic moment. The cinematography definitely does a lot of the heavy lifting in the film, because the story itself is actually pretty basic. We're just talking about Cal, Matt Bomer, taking his son, David, played by Josh Wiggins, on a hunting trip to get that elusive first kill of big game. In this case, they're tracking a moose. And it mirrors flashbacks of when Cal was David's age, going on a hunting trip with his father, played by Bill Pullman. And this is another really good trick of the cinematography. The idealized version of Cal's memories have this nice, glossy, kind of gritty 8mm home video feel to them, sort of like the opening credits to The Wonder Years. And then as we learn what actually happened, we're presented with this contrasting, pale, washed out kind of palette where literally everything's just being laid bare. Cal, as we learn over the course of the film, he's not just some gun-toting redneck. He's a respectful hunter. He only hunts for food. He hates the people that just come out into the woods and shoot things. The almost Ahab-like obsession for Cal to, in essence, get this right with his son ends up kind of shifting the dynamic in a way that I'm not sure the movie intends. It's one thing to hunt and then eventually try to survive the wilderness, but a lot of the responsibility gets shifted onto David, and because of that, we're now having to ask some questions about, what kind of trauma is he forced to endure through no fault of his own? What sort of responsibility does he bear in this whole scenario? And would he have just been better off if nothing had happened at all? But on the whole, this is still a really good tale of survival, and it's anchored by some very strong performances, especially from Matt Bomer. And again, I'm just blown away by Todd McMullen's cinematography. Any flaws in pacing and structure, I forgot about them the instant that deer wandered into the frame. Honestly, it's that good. This is definitely something that, especially while we're trapped inside, definitely worth the time.
William is the founder of the I Actually Paid to See This blog. You can find more of his reviews on his website, actuallypaid.wordpress.com. And we hope to follow up with James Oxford real soon and to hear more about the festival and the future of the festival. They've already started planning the second festival, and they're going to be taking submissions soon, so we'll try to keep you updated on that. They've added a couple of new categories. One is a Native American themed and an international category. So for more information on the Tonkawa Film Festival, visit tonkawafilmfestival.com. Up next is the review you've all been waiting for, Lake Michigan Monster. It was written and directed by Ryland Choos. It's a very weird movie, but I'll let our own EJ Argenio explain that to you.
I'm EJ Argenio, and I recently saw the indie sci-fi comedy Lake Michigan Monster. Now, before I give you my review of the film, let me give you a little idea about what the film is about. Taking place in Lake Michigan off the coast of Milwaukee, our protagonist, Seafield, puts together a team of specialists with the hopes of killing an underwater beast that recently took the life of one of Seafield's associates. To do so, they put together a series of whimsically named operations, each of which fails, and with each failure, they learn more about themselves as well as the very beast they're hunting. Now, writer-director Ryland Brixton Colt Hughes, who also plays our protagonist Seafield, definitely felt some inspiration when making the film, not only in his screenplay but in his directorial stylings. It had the feel of 1950s science fiction filmmaking. The Creature from the Black Lagoon, a little bit of the fantasy involved in Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That classical type of storytelling. The film is entirely in black and white with a very grainy disposition. So if you're not a fan of that, you might not be a fan of this film. But what I think really makes it stand up is the editing of Mike Cheslick, who also does the visual effects for the film, which is superb, and the special effects were done by Joe Castro. That really makes the film hold up a lot, because it's not so much the story that's keeping you on the edge of your seat, but it's how the story is told. And these effects play a big part in this movie. For me, what I took away from it more than anything else is how, when you're an independent filmmaker, films have to be close to your heart. You could definitely tell there was some inspiration from Wes Anderson. I couldn't help but think of The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, or even Terry Gilliam, who made the film The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, which had its aquatic scenes and underwater scenes as well. So there was a lot of that. And I think when you're an independent filmmaker, films have to be close to the heart. And I don't think it's too ambitious to go make any type of film when you definitely being honest to yourself. And I think that honesty comes across in the telling of a story like this. It's unique in its own way, and it's filled with a few suspenseful moments, but it's definitely more comical than anything else. And I think that comedy will definitely keep you entertained and willing to stay for, through the end of the film. It's not a traditional film by any means, and it's more of a parody of classical films from the 1950s, but it does so in a way that also pays tribute to how they were made. I wouldn't say it's a parody film completely. It's not a film like the Wayans brothers would make, but it's a parody in its own right. It's Chu's version of a parody of these types of films, and I think it hits its mark, because with the editing, the special effects, and the directorial stylings of Hughes, this film definitely makes it unique, and I can definitely see why it has played in so many festivals. I wish the film nothing but continued success, and if you have a chance, go check out Lake Michigan Monster.
Lake Michigan Monster is due for release later this year. We hope to keep you posted on that. Hope to maybe get the filmmakers on the show at some point. But now, finally, Michelle Lemore brings us a new kind of nightlife. She is an international burlesque performer. She's performed all over the world. She's not a filmmaker by trade, but she is a content creator. And when faced with this crisis of events being canceled and venues being closed, she came up with this great idea, a series called Quarantine Cabaret. And it features burlesque performers, magicians, comedians, musicians, people performing from different places around the country, all in their living rooms. And in addition to being the MC, she's also the headliner, so you get to see her perform as well. Now, I reached out to her when I saw this because I thought there was a brilliant idea, and I asked her how she came up with it, and she just said the idea was conceived on a Monday, and then we had 2 episodes on a Friday. It was a quick turnaround. We were basically just looking to figure out how to bring in a little money since we all lost our jobs, as did most of our performer friends. We thought this would be a great way to entertain the world and help ourselves and our friends, and this is turning into a great distraction. I saw this, I thought it was a brilliant, simple idea, and it's a great way to make lemonade out of lemons. So currently, they're offering the episodes for free, but they do encourage tips and sharing, so all the money being raised goes to the performers. It's split among them, so great way to help out your fellow performers if you can. The episodes are currently available on Michelle Lemore's website, michellelemore.com. They're on her Vimeo page. vimeo.com/Michelle Amour. The episodes are presented vertically, so they're great for watching on the mobile device. They are rated mature on Vimeo, so take that for what it's worth, maybe not for the kiddies. I just thought it was a great idea. It's a group of artists that are supporting each other in a community that really needs support right now. It couldn't be more vital. So if you're out there and you're saying, what am I going to do and how am I going to create? And, let this serve as inspiration for you because I think it may help you take the initiative to go out there and make something. So that's all we got for you today. We're doing our best to keep this content coming at you. For more of our content, including our movie reviews, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. You can also find out more about the Tonkawa Film Festival at tonkawafilmfestival.com. And as always, I just want to thank you guys out there for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. We're working hard and trying to do this stuff from home. And I want to say a big thanks to William and EJ and Andrew for sending in their reviews and contributing to this episode, and a big shout out to James. I wish him a lot of luck for next year. And for Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.